Learning Bytes, CV review for aspiring product managers and UXers. I'm very glad to have you all joining us today. So all job seekers know the importance of a CV, but how many actually fill theirs up with relevant and informative information? A lot of us tend to overload our CVs with accomplishments that are either irrelevant or not eye-catching to potential employers. In the UX and product management sectors, this is even more evident. In our session today, our speakers will be reviewing the CVs of a few job seekers looking to find a role in the UX industry and commenting on what works and what needs to be improved. They will also be discussing what hiring managers look for in a CV and candidates. But before introducing the speakers, let me share that you'll have the opportunity to submit your questions by typing them into the Zoom chat box. You can send your questions at any given time during the panel discussion, and we will address them during the Q&A. So now it's time to introduce our guest speakers. Firstly, we have Audrey Low, Adjunct Career Development Coach at CuriousCore. Audrey is a bilingual Gallup StrengthsFinder trainer and Newfield Ontological Coach, and has worked with leaders in both the corporate and startups space in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong. We also have Dalen, who is the founder and educator at CuriousCore. I would like to now pass the floor to Dalen.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Devian. And welcome to Learning Bytes, a new series by CuriousCore. And this particular session where we're reviewing CVs that have been pre-submitted and anonymized was inspired by someone who reached out to me personally on LinkedIn because he wanted to transition into the field of product management. And because we have Audrey, our career coach here, I thought like, hey, Audrey, why don't we just do something together? Let's do it quick. Let's do it over lunch, just in case anyone's interested and they can tune in. So thank you for joining us live today. If you're live on Facebook, welcome. And if you are here on Zoom with us in our private session, feel free to type any questions. We'll have them answered as quickly as possible during the session itself. So how are you feeling today, Audrey?
It's been a long week, but I'm glad to be here with you all.
Awesome. So thanks, Audrey. And I'll maybe like to sort of like begin by having just a short chat and a short conversation. You know, you've been coaching our UX career accelerator trainees for a while now, right? And you've seen their CVs, you help them improve their CVs. You know, like what are some of the things you spotted that's like very, very common, and in terms of like mistakes or things that they are making that you think people should also look out for, right? Since you work with a lot of career transitioners now.
Great question. 2 points that come to mind. Firstly, it's the structure of the CV. Formatting is very important. You want to make sure that your CV has the most of your experiences jam-packed in a very succinct and concise way in 2 pages, if possible. Not like a 10-page CV, not like everything squashed onto 1 page, because then, you know, people will just get impatient and gloss over it and not really want to read the full extent of it. So, I mean, it's kind of like neat handwriting, right? Neat handwriting is just a lot easier to read than messy handwriting. The second is describing what was done rather than the context of what was the problem, what was the task that you've done, what was the actions that you have taken, and what was the result. So these 2 things.
Yeah, thank you for sharing it in such a quick manner. So I have a couple of CVs that were pre-submitted by some of our known associates, and some of them are anonymized, but one of them isn't. So in this case, I think most of them actually fit what you said about having less than 10 pages, because we got one that's 3 pages, we got one that's like 1 page, and then we got one that's 2 page. And Kangwei, which is one of our ex-students, is pretty comfortable about sharing his name over here, and his is just like 1 page. Do you think this CV is like too short?
Is it being shown on the screen right now?
Oh, I think that's a particular setting that's not being enabled. Can you guys make me the co-host, please? Right. So yeah, it's being shown on the screen right now. So we have one that is 1 page. You have one that's 2 page, right? And there's one that's 3 pages. So do you feel like this one by Conway is a little too short in terms of it being just 1 page?
Okay. I'm just gonna look at it fresh, okay? Because I've spoken with Conway before. February, March, architecture. If you could scroll down a little bit.
Yeah. In fact, I'll just zoom out.
I would say it's a bit too short.
Tell us a little bit more. Why do you say it's a bit too short? Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just kind of start with the aesthetics of it first. If you just pause right there, about 1/3 of that CV is actually empty space. For me, I feel like the LinkedIn, the email, and all that, it could actually be all put at the top, maybe in a header, in lighter font in one line, just to save some space. Maybe the name can also be a little bit smaller, just like consistent font, right? Another thing that's also jumping out at me is the name is big. And then there's a sentence there that is quite large in gray. And then the education and experiences, the font is actually smaller than the February, May UX design lead. So all of these font inconsistencies is just jumping out at me. Secondly, an impact designer who pushes the limits of contextual design, once a national gymnast. I love the paragraph that gives me more insight into who this person is. I just wish that the amount of space was probably like 3 sentences to give me more insight to who this person is.
Right. So so you feel like he has too much white space over here, especially like real estate that could have been better used.
Yeah, especially since it's just a 1-page CV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we could go down, I feel like, especially if, for example, the third point, it's 2.5 years. 2.5 years summarized into 3 points. It's kind of like, I want more detail. I want more detail of what was your journey? Like, what were you responsible for in year 1? How can I see how you've grown as a person in year 2? And in your, second to 2.5 year, what were you last responsible for? So if I just take that as an example, completed projects ranging from 2 to 5 million worth. Okay, great. Did you lead those projects? Did you play a supporting role in those projects? Did you bring the business in for those projects? These are missing details that could make, that could elevate facts that tell your story better. Second one, as design lead, spearheaded initial design documentation and design meetings with clients. Sure. I see that you've taken a leadership role, but what were some of the outcomes from those design meetings with clients? Did it result in 10 projects successfully completed ahead of timeline, etc.? The third one, worked on design drawings, renders, diagrams to conceptualize key architectural ideas and engineering solutions. Great. This is an example of what? Rather, I would like to know a little bit more about how did you value add in your unique way to this project? So I feel like these 3 experiences can be elaborated more into 2 pages. I also feel like the education, etc., there can be a little bit more detail about his extracurricular activities, which goes to show a little bit more about who is this person that I'm hiring, rather than just what skills am I hiring them for. So I'll just kind of take a pause here. Do you have any other questions that you want me to address on this CV? Because I'm mindful there's 2 more CVs.
Yeah, that's cool. And actually, just to give some context to everyone as well, I think we receive a lot of career transitioners in our program, and usually then some of them are not from the design field. I think what stands out in Conway's profile is that he's actually a very sporty person, right? And the fact that he, like what Audrey said, lacks a lot of these outcomes and results. It kind of doesn't work very well for him. But I also add one more fact is that one important thing when you're transitioning into a completely new field, other than mentioning that you understand the language of this new position that you're transitioning to, the other thing to also note is how is your experience transferable to this new field, right? So for example, Kang Wei is branding and positioning himself as a UX designer. So it will help if there is actually any explanation of like how some of these things that he did is actually applicable. And I think it's an opportunity to use like the description to talk a little bit about his why is he doing UX, and also an opportunity to help people understand why does an architect and how does an architect add value in the field of UX design itself. So I think there are some missing opportunities. Kang Wei, it sounds like from Audrey's recommendation, you can add another page to kind of elaborate on some of these things a little bit more.
I'll also just add in one point.
Yeah.
So think of your CV kind of like a script prompter, so that the talent acquisition partner or specialist, when they see it, it's meant to pick their interest to go, I noticed that you've conducted US research to identify customers' pain points and validate problems. That's interesting. That sounds like something that we're looking for. Can you tell me more about it? The more details about the project that you were on, what were some problems that you faced? How did you add value to your team to solve the problem together?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I want to say, in general, I know people try and be fancy with the design, but really try and make sure your CV is readable. Gray text on white background is usually not recommended because it makes it not so readable in this case. So that might be something you'll like to fix. Other than doing CV review, which we have some time for, I think another thing we'll be talking about along the way is about the positioning aspects as well. So, but Audrey in her career has seen way more CVs than I have. So I'll just let her kind of like start with that. Well, Audrey, we have our second CV here. So this is a candidate who actually wants to become a product manager, you know, and he has all this experience, and obviously he's kind of like blurred out the companies that he used to work for. What's your opinion? What do you think can be improved over here?
Okay, so very quickly, if you scroll all the way down, I would say if you actually go into 2 pages, maximize the 2 pages.
Oh, there you go. Right. That makes a lot of sense.
A lot of white space. So I'll just go maybe bottom up. If you can just zoom in, maximize your screen to 125%, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So I'll just go from bottom up. If you can just go all the way down.
All the way down, yeah.
Okay, so let's start with that. Languages, skills, certification, entrepreneurial freelance coach, various sports. That's very vague. It would be nice to know what sports.
That's a good point.
University, Bachelor of Arts. Okay, it would be nice to know what CCAs. Just kind of know, like, just kind of get a profile of this kind of person. Are they dance, theater, are they musical band, that sort of thing. Just me. I like to get to know people. If you can move up.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, pause. So I can see that this person has about 11 years of work experience. Or maybe that was an internship.
Yeah.
Maybe. Contributed to successful migration of budgeting systems. Okay. So I can see that this person probably started at a bank in some financial role. Without going into too much detail, this tells me that, okay, for about 6 months, either in an internship or in a job, they've picked up some quantitative skills and they're comfortable with maybe Excel or large sets of data. If I go on next to consultant, I hope that they weren't actually said there. Risk advisory consultant in Southeast Asia, involved in project delivery, guided a team. Okay, I like that. Guided a team of 3 junior consultants. It shows that you have some nurturing skills. Optimize wireless security. Okay, I like the part. Improve efficiency by about 30%. Numbers stand out. I would ask you, tell me more. How did you improve efficiency by 30%? And I'll listen. Does that make sense? Does it sound like you can explain it in a way that you know your stuff without?
You mean that they have to do it in their CV, or you mean like during the interview, or what?
I would love to see it in the CV so that it's an opportunity for people to pick that out, to kind of like click into it and expand during the interview conversation.
That makes sense. All right.
Which is to build credibility. Appointed by management over 10 other consultants to perform security reviews. Okay. Personally, I would just make it a little bit more concise. Was selected by management to perform security reviews. Maybe something like over 10 consultants was kind of like, was the only one of 10 consultants to be shortlisted by a management for blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I think one opportunity that most people often miss is like, if they get promoted, they don't mention about it. Like if you get promoted, that's like a good thing, right? If you have, especially if you have an internal promotion, or if you get selected for a big project, those are things that actually suggest that you have a track record of excellence, including all the sports that you do, right? So for example, playing badminton is on a whole different level from like preparing for a triathlon, right? So that's like, it really shows like a different thing. So I think leave all these clues and show that you have this track record of excellence.
Also, if let's say you were promoted, quicker or double promotion, these are things that are worth highlighting. And you can also share what is it about you that enabled that to happen, right? To show drive, to show perseverance or whatever.
Is there a way to write it so that we don't sound like we're boasting?
I would kind of just state it as it is.
Just state it as it is. And then
received the double promotion in 1.5 years. Took on enhanced job scope of this.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You can pause there. Senior technology consultant, almost 2 years. Planning and budgeting, okay, makes sense. Prioritization and execution, okay. Influencing without authority sounds a bit iffy for me. Stakeholder management, fair. Maybe I'll just go through this part and see if anything jumps out. Security and privacy consultant, project management, okay, bringing in accounts. I would, instead of bringing in accounts, I would call it business development. It just sounds catchy. And it's like, oh, that's one of the skills you have. Define project scope, reduce business risk. I like that 80%. I would ask you to quantify that in an interview to make sure that you can validate it and back it up. Generated project revenue of 2 million, great. Collaborated with 2 consultants, conduct audits, effectively highlighted, okay. Executed vulnerability assessment, succeeded in earning management, buy-in on effectively managing the security risk, strengthen relationships with 10 clients by organizing, coordinating regular meetings, receive positive feedback with client, which resulted in a successful negotiation. Okay, I'm going to take a pause here. This would be a great CV to get another role as a even more senior technology consultant. The context is still centered around what you know. So there's definitely opportunity to understand, firstly, what is the JD of a product manager? Read it, study it, break it down. And then tailor this CV and more clearly tease out what are the transferable skills that you know and understand that is required of a PM. So that when I'm interviewing you for the PM role, I can say, oh, okay, I've seen that you have good project management experience. I can see that you have good stakeholder management experience. I can see your problem-solving skills and how you push through this despite not having enough resources. The project was 3 months behind, but you still managed to deliver on time. Bravo. problem solving. Maybe decision making is very generic, but maybe more like I would say like, well, maybe handling. Probably shouldn't be one of the topics there, but as you are sharing, you can also speak about how you were able to maybe deliver under stressful timelines. Another one, communication, because as a PM, you need to be that bridge between technical to understand that, you can speak the lingo and liaise with the developers and the engineers, but also be that bridge with business, right? And I think that's something as a tech consultant, you probably have it, but I don't really see it here.
Yeah, it's not mentioned. Maybe you assume like that's great. That's like people already know that. But some people are not from the industry. They're not consultants, and maybe they never worked with consultants before, so they may not know that consultants have to communicate often.
I would say treat the person that is reading your CV as though you were explaining what you do to a 5-year-old. Just assume that they don't know anything and explain everything from start to finish, but in a very concise way. That's easy for people to understand.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Audrey. I think this was actually the person who reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he was the one who asked me, hey, do you have any advice, which inspired me to create this event with you. And actually, one of the things I felt that was really good was that some of the sub headlines that he mentioned here were actually things that people look out for in a product manager. So I think he tried to mention as much relevant experience as possible. So this was actually a suggestion made by another product manager to him. But I also gave him another suggestion, was that to mention more product in his CV as well, because it just says consultant. It doesn't say digital consultant. It doesn't say, what kind of consultant or technology consultant. Like the mention of digital, the mention of product, are really good terms to include in your CV, because if you're transitioning into tech, people want to know like you've been in tech before, or you've been sort of like working with tech, and that's something that I mentioned to him, as well as like what I do also like about his CV is that it's very, very metric based. So because product managers need to be good at UX, need to be good at data analytics, need to be good at the business side, as well as the technology side. So all these things do play a role. So in his overall, when we're looking at the composition, it's a very business focused type of CV. It doesn't say enough about the UX. I mean, he mentioned about the UX design course that he did, but he only did it in like one line. So we can't assume anything. And so there's nothing about the customer. There's nothing about like the technology that he's worked with that shows like he's capable of handling or working with engineers or working with designers. Yeah, what do you think, Audrey?
I would just point out one phrase that is bugging me personally, which is influencing without authority. I would put persuasion and influence.
Okay.
It's a lot more topic based.
Okay.
Like influencing without authority, it's kind of like, what exactly do you mean? And I think in CVs, right, you want to have terms that are very directly understandable, rather than at least people like question marks. What do you mean? Then people kind of feel puzzled. To your question, if you could scroll down, I agree. Just personally, if I had like 20 CVs to choose from and they looked about like that, I would love to see whether this person has actually taken like a 2-day digital marketing course or a 2-month digital marketing course, just so that they kind of understand what businesses need to communicate to the outside stakeholders. I would love to see if they have some complementary skill sets, or at least understanding, even though they haven't actually done it, 2 PM, UX, digital marketing. If they have some design skills, great. If you have coding skills, even better. And there's a lot of credibility there. If like R, Python, okay, great. I know you can pull out the data that you need, maybe to substantiate the decisions that you make.
Yeah, that's a good point. You didn't actually say, like, it's the CV suggests that he might be good with data, but it's not really obvious enough that it says like, unless it's ClickSense. I mean, like it shows that he uses the, like the software and stuff like that, but it doesn't mention anything else about, some of the things you mentioned, Audrey. Okay. So I think that's about it. I hope that this has been helpful for him, since you're the one who inspired me to create this event. We'll go to another one, which is another one of our recent graduates, also someone who is career transitioning. So if we kind of look backwards, she comes from a more interior design background. Do you want me to start from the back?
From the top, please.
From the top. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Okay, I'll just take a pause here. And if you just look at the composition of the CV, it's like 1/3 of 2 pages, a bit wasted in white space. So I would love to see the about kind of shrank up to half the
height.
Yeah, the height, so that it's more like that. So that there's just a bit more space.
Oh, even the width, I get what.
I feel like the 1/3 length on the left is a bit of wasted blank space. And with that, it's gonna make me want to zoom in into reading that chunk also.
True.
If you could zoom in a little bit more, that would be great.
Okay.
25%. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you. My educational foundation design thinking. I'm driven. Okay, sure. If you could go down, Adobe Figma, okay. CuriousCore, okay, if you could go down. Do I have problem areas before they go on the website? Okay, if 2 or 3 sentences could be elaborated on what the problem areas were. Time is in beta stage. You need to have to identify problem areas, for example, to reduce cart abandonment rates before they roll out on the website. Like just reduce cart abandonment rates, 3 words. It gives me a lot more clarity into what was the scope and the problem that you worked on.
Yeah.
From research conducted on the users. Okay, just personally, I would not put in so much that I decided to focus on.
Yeah.
I would kind of just structure it as okay, and this is just my personal CV speak condensation, right? I would kind of go conducted research on target users to create optimal onboarding experience in 4 weeks. So you can kind of already streamline that into almost like less than 2 sentences.
Yeah.
Further research. Okay, you don't. I would just the 3rd point.
Yeah, I'll just add something as well while Audrey's reading the rest. And I think this is just me from a visual perspective, right? Other than the fact that maybe the width can be increased, be very, very careful about what we call often words. Often words are like 1 or 2 words that fall below the sentence. You kind of see them over here. They look a little ugly. They look like they're alone. They look like they're not cared for. So the strategy is always the appropriate solution for it is actually to make sure you increase the width or you change the content of your sentences so that it fits to a 2-sentence thing. And I think generally designers are quite sensitive to like the spacing, right? So I personally think this is too tight in terms of line height. You might want to relax it a little bit more so that's easier to read. So that would be definitely my advice. But other than that, I think the visual hierarchy kind of like is comfortable enough and it makes sense. Yeah.
Sorry, if you can go up, let me just finish up that one. Go down a little bit, Yeah, okay. So 3, I'll just quickly go to 3, 4, 5, right? Research conducted to back up design solutions. And 4 and 5 is kind of like the results, right? New prototype increased usability score by 20%. if possible. Onboarding was successful with average task success rate of more than 8%. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have a question from the audience, Audrey, and she's asking, like, should we avoid using words like I or my team and I? So that there is some I over here in the CV itself. What do you think?
Dylan, what do you think?
Well, for me personally, I think it's fine. It's not so much about like the words, but it's the way it's written and how it sounds. Like for me, when I look at candidates, if they sound like they're exaggerating, right, then it actually kind of triggers some red flags for me. But if they just stating it as it is, then it's fine. And as long as it reads well to me, I don't have a personal opinion on it. Yeah,
I guess there's no right and wrong. This is just my personal preference in line with the ethos of wanting short and succinct CVs, which can save you line space. So like I decided to, it's kind of like, you think about it, I don't really need to know what you decided or didn't decide to do. I just need to know what was done and what was the result.
Okay, so in the spirit of keeping things concise, this actually could be eliminated. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, there are some other additional points. Did you want to elaborate on anything that comes down?
Whatever you would like me to focus on.
I think, yeah, what are your thoughts? Because we work with a lot of career transitioners, right? Including people who have design experience, people who don't have design experience. What do you think they should talk about when they're talking about their past experience, right? Especially if they want to be in the field of UX over here. So now she's talking about her past experience. So what should they be mentioning? Should they just state it as it is, like, oh, I did this and that, or like they should try and contextualize it?
Great. Could you scroll up a little bit so that I can look at okay, at tech intro. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Give me a second. So I'll just go through the EdTech plus, right?
Sure.
App in development stage, client needed user research to provide a well-grounded foundation. Okay, good context. Conducted research on target users, gain insights into learning and development behaviors and preferences. Further research conducted on effects of ranking. Okay, I'm hearing the what. It's like the process of what was done still. Conducted secondary research. Okay. Lastly, synthesize. So synthesize recommendations as a value add. Research that further supports enhancements of learning platform within 4 weeks. Client was satisfied. I kind of feel like and then client was satisfied, and then they say like, instead of client was satisfied with research report, it'd be nice to know client built upon our work to conduct the testing in this direction that was recommended. Client took our recommendations into consideration and launched a new website. Client, it's kind of like, you know, how did your project enable the clients to stand on your shoulders to reach the next phase? If you tell me that client was satisfied, it's kind of like, okay, thank you, very nice report, I read it, I put it aside, that's it.
That's actually a valid point, and I think it's not necessarily like that there wasn't any results, right, from the project, or there wasn't any impact delivered. It's just that it should also mention the things that Audrey talked about, which is actually how was it used, how is it going to be used, and yeah, like even if it's just part of the recommendation, maybe they won't implement every single thing, but even parts of it will be good. And one of the things we hear very often from our mock interviewers who help us with interviewing our students is that they want the students to talk more about the impact rather than more about the what is being done, right? So Audrey's saying, hey, there's a lot of mention of what is being done, but during the interviews they want to know why you did it, why did you choose this method, and actually what is the impact, and what's the results that are delivered. So that's
to kind of like drive home the point that Dylan said, right? As an interviewer, I am not exactly looking out for like you to tell me a list of 10 skills that you've had. I'm not looking out for you to tell me I can do market research, I can do client interviews, I can do wireframing, I can. All of these are skills. I want to see how you have put together your skills and applied it on a project, which means you understood the context and the pain points of that project. Then I want you to tell me what was the results after you have applied these skills to the project. And this narrative is then going to convince me, after I hear it in a very congruent, aligned, validated manner, that I have confidence to let this person speak with the hiring manager, which is their future manager or boss.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so I think overall it's quite nicely designed, and it's visually aesthetically pleasing. It's just that some of the line heights they look a little bit different. This one looks actually a lot tighter than this, and we have a lot of often words which can be improved from a visual perspective. I'm actually quite a stickler for like the dashes, but I guess if you're a product manager, that's okay. But if you're a designer, then yeah, you wanna consider checking out on the different types of dashes, like the N dash and the M dash, and how they're supposed to be used, because this is like all part of typesetting. But other than that, I think the fact that this person mentioned all these is great. Do you think there's a better way, Audrey, that she could have presented her education experience? Sometimes I see CVs like where people have a lot of courses and they just mention like tons of courses that they went to. Yeah.
I mean, overall, I would have loved to see this on 2 pages instead of 2.5.
Right. It is.
Point. Just because I think the words can actually stretch out to shorter, fewer lines. I like that it clearly states what was studied and the duration. Vertical experience, polytechnic. Okay. I mean, no comments about the education bit. If you could.
I was just wondering, like, do you think maybe because a degree is always harder to achieve, right? Than say a diploma or a course or a certificate, right? It takes a longer time. Should we present it and like highlight it a little bit more or something like that, and have short courses on another section? Yeah.
I think it would be interesting to know like what was the final year project about. What did this person major in? Maybe because some parts of the final year project, I might just ask you, can you tell me more about what was the final year project? Why do you select that topic? And then get more flavor about how their final year project may be relevant for some projects that we might be working on internally. Okay. I guess for me, I'm fine with chronological, from latest to earliest. So yeah. I mean, it's fine for me like in the sequence.
Cool. I think we're good with the CVs. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Audrey?
No. Any Q&A from the floor?
Yeah, I think we can do a quick Q&A. If not, I can also get started. Audrey, you've done talent acquisition, right? For different companies, different startups in the tech industry, for a recruitment firm as well. What exactly do HR folks look out for? Like what can we do as candidates so that it's easier for you HR folks or you talent acquisition folks? Yeah.
I guess level 1 would be to have a neat and tidy CV, 2 pages, like what we have discussed earlier. I would say to differentiate yourself and and of course, if you have the resources too, in your CV, why not have a link to say, learn more about me here? And that link can click out into your personal website, which is kind of like an expanded CV in a storytelling manner. It can expand out into your portfolio if you've done UX or digital marketing. It can maybe expand out into even a video. And that video can be maybe like 5 questions of what you preempt the interviewer to want to know about you. And it's just like a 1-2 minute. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm currently a tech consultant with this company. I've been here for 3-4 years, and I'm now looking for a job as a product manager because I am interested in bringing my skills from what I've acquired here into this context. I would love a chance to speak with you, to share more with you about my experiences. Thank you so much. So in that video, you're actually telling me, okay, I've kind of had that informal chat about you. I've seen you speaking. I've seen your confidence. I've seen how articulate you are. I've seen that you want this. I've seen that you've put in effort to be different and tell me more about who you are. Yeah, I mean, these are just the little things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you brought up the Conway's portfolio, is it?
Yeah, I did. I mean, Conway's portfolio was actually a link. I think one of the things I hear from recruiters as well is that always make sure you double check the link and make sure every link is working, because sometimes like people put a link or they don't put the link and it makes it very inconvenient. Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to say, actually from the CV just now, I saw the first 2, which is like the LinkedIn and the email, but I totally didn't see that was a link to the portfolio.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, maybe because they sort of make it out, but
I mean, for Conway's.
But you're right. The one on the second one doesn't actually look like a link that's clickable. Yeah.
No, I mean Conway's CV. If you could go back there, like that UX4, right? Because that icon, it's like a attachment. I didn't know exactly what that meant. So I would probably, if that's the main thing you want me to look at, I will put the portfolio under user experience designer, because that directly shows what it is. And then on the right, it's LinkedIn, email, and contact. That's ways to contact me.
Yeah, actually, you're right. Like kind of categorizing them by association. Yeah.
And on the left, it makes me click on it more visibly. Because really, I missed out on, I didn't even bother knowing what that was. It was only when you opened it, I realized, oh, it's actually his portfolio. So I may have just totally missed it. Yeah,
that's true. Like, what is the call to action for a CV? It's actually for them to know more about you and for them to be persuaded to invite you for an interview. So always understand the job to be done of a CV is share enough so that they would want to invite you for an interview. Yeah. Okay. I think we're pretty much done. We didn't really have much questions from the floor, but thank you to those who have asked. It's been sort of like a concise and quick session. And I hope we answered all the questions that you needed. And Audrey, I understand that you also have something planned that's up and coming, and you want to help more people outside of the CuriousCore students. And you personally, you want to work with other professionals as well who might be struggling in careers. Yeah. You want to share a little bit more about what's going on?
Sure. So firstly, I have actually dropped the link. I hope, yes, the second link, dropped it there. If you would like to find out more or be in touch, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. It'd be lovely to connect. You could also just put in your interest if you would like to find out more, like an expanded version of what you've experienced. So this idea actually came up as I was chatting with Dylan, that I would love to be able to help people in a way like what we have been working with the CuriousCore students, so that if you would like to just focus on firstly, understanding more about your strengths and articulating it. First, you need to discover what it is, right? Then you can internalize and articulate it back to people in a convincing, persuasive, and confident manner. So the first part is discovery, and the tool that I like to use is StrengthsFinder to really understand and articulate what's your superpowers. And usually you resonate with it, and you're like, yeah, I didn't know I'm actually great at public speaking. I just do it naturally. It's transparent to me, but now I know I can capitalize on this. And the second part is, of course, you might need to structure your CV, and I would help you. I would ask you what are the stories, and I would rephrase it back to you like what we've done just now in a short and succinct manner that is punchy. And then maybe the third point would be coming together to work on how do I steady the nerves before this interview? What are some tips and tricks? What do I look out for? What are some good questions that I can ask recruiters, headhunters, talent acquisition partners, so that it shows that I've put in thought and research into this company. I'm interested. So these are some tips and tricks. So I'm putting together a three-week course likely to happen on Saturday mornings. So if you're interested to be part of the first cohort, and we have 6 seats for that, just drop in, fill out the form, and you can find out more information. And I'll just kind of last thoughts and summarize with this. There's actually a lot of parallels in finding a job with dating. You know, it's two parties coming together to get to know each other. Are we a right fit for each other? You know, at the same time, you're trying to show this is the best side, right? But I'm also self-aware to know what my weaknesses are and what I have done to work on it. And it's not just about me selling myself to you to hire me. The power dynamic is that I know my value as well. Now I'm going to ask you, what can you offer me as a company? What are your benefits like? What are your promotions like? What is your leave? What's your fatherhood, motherhood policy? What's your management like? What's your attrition rate? Why is there this blank spot in here that you're looking for? How long has this role been empty? So I would always say in an interview, good questions are better than smart answers. And in this course, either if you decide to sign up with CuriousCore to go through a UX journey or product management journey, or go through just a career coaching journey with myself, I hope that through this process, not only you get more confident and just, do away with that imposter syndrome, it just doesn't help you become the best version of you. How can we learn to ask good questions, thoughtful questions in an open and authentic manner?
Okay, that's really great. And I'd just like to highlight the importance of for career transitioners transitioning into tech, that very often if you're looking at courses, they only teach you the technical skills, but they often very much forget that you need help with your career skills as well, right? Because you're transitioning to a new industry, there's this like imposter syndrome. So we're very lucky to work with Audrey, as she's had very, very good reviews with the students. And we're one of the few institutions that actually have a career coach working with you every single month, meeting you and making sure that you succeed and you're successful, and that you do not just acquire the necessary skills, but you have the right career skills. And you leave the course and the program with the right problem-solving mindset and skills as well. So that you're confident when you're going out there and you're pitching yourself as a candidate. You don't feel lost. You don't feel like you are seeing something for the first time, right? So that's something I just want to highlight. And we'll continue to bring in career-related articles, career-related conversations, especially for our audiences, because this is something we know many of our students and many of our customers care about. And I'll hand over the rest of the wrap up to our marketing team. Yes, what, Audrey? Yes.
I just want to one last point to emphasize. Very true. A lot of educational arms out there just equip you with the knowledge, and I call that competency. but the building of trust, and we also delve deeper into what is trust. How can we be more effective in building trust? Because you are only as effective a product manager or a project manager UX as you are your use of self in being the most effective you can in driving the results. And so it's not just about equipping yourself with the hard skills, like the knowledge of how, but it's also of the what, but it's also how. And I would say a lot of organizations out there don't actually work with you to rewire your programming, to look at who am I, how am I relating to this current season and journey of my life? What are the obstacles and barriers that are holding me back from becoming my best self? And I can say so many people have just embraced that journey, jumped into the deep end, and they have changed so much for the better, a lot more confident, a lot more open, a lot more curious and effective. So I would say that's one of the things I really feel, does set CuriousCore apart from a lot of other companies.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, we're very proud to actually have students write to us and say, hey, it's not just the foundational skills we learn, but I've also grown as a person. It's very, very holistic. But we're not here to talk about ourselves. We hope this session has added value for you. So over to the marketing team, like, is there anything else you'd like to cover? Devin, yeah.
Thank you, Dylan. All right, with that, we have come to the end of the Learning Bytes. And on behalf of CuriousCore, we'd like to thank Audrey Loh for her valuable insights shared and everyone for your time in attending our Learning Bytes session. On the screen, you can see some of the ways that our team can help you. So we do run career conversion programs for product managers. We also run UX/CX courses, design thinking courses, product management courses, customized masterclass, and group and individual coaching. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch the previous webinar videos from the Learning Bytes series. And with that, we would like to thank you for joining us today and hope to see you during our next Learning Bytes. Our next Learning Bytes session will actually be happening on July 5th, and we'll be covering on Agile and Scrum. How is Agile and Scrum supporting the financial services industry? And with that, we would like to thank everyone once again for participating in today's webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Take care.
Bye-bye. Have a great weekend.